All right, good morning, class. This morning we're going to take a look at properties of exponents. You looked at some exponents, some properties on yesterday. We're going to extend our lesson today. So we're looking at properties of exponents today. And today we're going to look at some rules, some different rules. We're going to look at, first of all, let's go back and refresh our memory on something. If I had x raised to the fourth power, this is called an exponential expression. And this expression has two parts. This x right here is called the base, and this 4 is called the exponent. And the exponent lets you know how many times the base is a factor. And when you think of factors, you think of multiplication. So if I had 2 raised to the fourth power, that means I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, okay? Then I would simplify that, and 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 2 is 4, and that gives me 16. So as we look at our properties today, the first property we're going to look at is multiplying like bases. If I had a raised to the nth times a raised to the m power. The rule tells me that when I multiply like bases, a is my base. I'm going to bring that base over a, and then I'm going to add my exponent. So I'm going to add my n plus m. As I do a problem, as I explain the rule, I'll give you an example. For example, if I had n raised to the 7th times n raised to the 8th. Well, the base in this problem is n, so I'll bring my n over, and the rule tells me to add my exponent. So I'm going to add my 7 and my 8. When I add 7 and 8, I get 15. So when I multiply like bases, I'll add exponents. So let's do a couple more examples with that. If I had 6 raised to the 9th times 6 raised to the 4th. Again, my base on this problem is 6, so I'll bring my base over. I'm going to add my exponents. 9 plus 4 gives me 13, right? So when you multiply like bases, you're going to add exponents. When you multiply like bases, suppose I had x to the 4th times x. Well, this x has an exponent. It's understood to be there. You just don't see it. It's understood to be a 1. So I'm going to, again, bring my base over of x. I'm going to add my exponents at 4 plus 1. That gives me 5. So again, when I multiply like bases, I'm going to add the exponents. Now let's look at what happens when we divide like bases. When we divide like bases, if I had a raised to the m divided by a raised to the nth. When you divide like bases, these bases are alike. My base is a, and the rule tells me that I'm going to subtract the exponents. When I divide like bases, subtract the exponents. For example, if I had x to the 9th divided by x to the 6th. Well, the base in this problem is x, so I'll bring over my base. I'm going to subtract my exponents. 9 minus 6 gives me 3, so I get x to the 3rd power. If I had 2 to the 14th divided by 2 to the 6th, my base in this problem is 2. I'm going to subtract my exponents, and 14 minus 6 gives me 8, so I get 2 raised to the 8th power. And the next property, we're going to raise a power to a power. So if I had a raised to the m and take that and raise it to the nth, I'm going to multiply the exponents. A power raised to a power, you multiply the exponents. So if I have 5 raised to the second and take that and raise it to the ninth, that gives me 5. Multiply the exponents, 2 times 9 gives me 18, so I get 5 to the 18th power. If I had x to the 4th raised to the ninth, multiply the exponents, I get x raised to the 36th power. So now I'm going to give you just a couple and we're going to go through them together, and that will just to review these rules right quick. So we're going to simplify. So let's simplify. Example 1. If I had 6 to the 6th times 6 to the 3rd. Well, I'm multiplying like bases. So we're going to bring that base of 6 over. And remember, when you multiply like bases, add the exponents. 6 plus 3 gives us 9. Example 2. If I had x to the 10th divided by x to the 5th. When I divide like bases, I'm going to bring that base over, my base of x, subtract the exponents. 10 minus 5 gives me 5, so I get x to the 5th power. Example 3. If I had 5 to the 4th, and I want to raise it to the 2nd power, that becomes 5 raised to the 8th power. 4 times 2 gives you 8. You multiply the exponents. Now there's one other property that I need to take you over right quick, and that is a negative exponent. So let me do that one and we'll be finished with this little quick lesson for today. If I had a raised to the negative n, to make this exponent positive, I'm going to write this as a fraction. It becomes 1 over a to the nth. So if I had 7 raised to the negative 2, I would rewrite that as 1 over 7 raised to the 2nd. And all of us know what 7 to the 2nd is. That's 7 times 7, so that is 1/49th as an answer. If I had x raised to the negative 4, I'm going to rewrite that to make this exponent positive. It becomes 1 over x to the 4th power. If I had 17 to the 9th, let's say it's raised to the negative 2. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I have a power raised to a power, so that becomes 17 raised to the negative 18. That becomes 1 over 17 raised to the 18th power. I want all of you to stay safe. Mrs. J misses you, and I'm going to assign you some problems from the textbook to reinforce this. That's it.